And as our next guest explains, Holocaust Remembrance Day carries even more significance this year as the world has been seeing a rise in anti-Semitic incidents since the start of the Israel-Hamas war. And joining us now, CEO of the Anti-Defamation League, Jonathan Greenblatt. Jonathan, it's good to have you back on. Tell us more about how tomorrow is more significant and more meaningful, perhaps, than ever before.
Well, thank you, Mika. Look, Holocaust Remembrance Day is this solemn, sacred observance, as you said, of the liberation of the Auschwitz camp. And I mean, the clips of you and Joe being there last year were so powerful, standing beneath that gate that said, Arbeit macht frei, right? Work makes us free. But we know that ignorance enslaves us all. And so we're living in a time of, and I would call it denialism, where we have literally, we've done the polling. Some 35% of the world population believes that the Holocaust either didn't happen or was exaggerated. This, the single most significant tragedy of the 20th century, right? The annihilation, the systematic extermination across countries, across continents of a single people simply because of their identity. So it's this ominous memory, and yet today, denialism lurks again. It lurks on social media, which is sort of this super spreader of ignorance. And it lurks literally in the halls of power. And of course, it lurks in Gaza, where the denialism spread by Hamas reminds us in many ways of Holocaust denialism, suggesting that the attack was a false flag, that the women who were brutalized and raped, that didn't really happen, that the Israelis are harvesting organs. This is a different kind of denialism. But, you know, as President Obama said, history might not repeat itself, but it rhymes. And we can all hear the ominous rhymes when these lies about October 7th are spread. So it's a moment when we need education and solidarity, I think, Mika, more than ever.
Jonathan, you mentioned the stunningly frightening figure that a third of this world either denies the Holocaust or thinks it's exaggerated. Since October 7th, we know that hate crimes against Jews are up 400%. I have a concern as a media guy that the moment in time about where anti-Semitism was front and center and people were paying attention, we saw it happening at university, that the media caravan has moved on a little bit, and now it's just hovering, and that the fight against anti-Semitism is losing some of its steam. What are you guys doing about that?
Well, look, I mean, you're not wrong. I think we live in this moment as a brand guy, you know it better than anybody, where our attention span has been shrunken, right, to almost nothing. So it moves out of the news cycle, no longer in days, but like in hours or minutes, it feels like, because of X and Facebook, et cetera. So what are we doing at ADL? Well, we are really pushing for Holocaust education. It is crucial that kids learn about what happened, this tragedy, in school, because again, we are doomed to repeat history if we don't learn from it. So we think Holocaust education matters. So we are pushing for mandates in schools all over the country. And especially, as you said, at a time when anti-Semitism is up everywhere. The graphic that was just on the screen shows it. But it's in America, it's in the UK, it's in France, Canada, Belgium, Germany, Australia, the Netherlands. The numbers of anti-Jewish acts of harassment, vandalism, and violence, they've skyrocketed, Donnie. And again, the only way that we beat intolerance is with education. That's what we need more than ever. That's why Holocaust education matters so much.
Take the final word on this matter.
Yeah, I mean, it's stunning. You know, there's oftentimes we have abrasive anti-Semitism, someone yelling at you, screaming at you, assaulting a person. But oftentimes, Jonathan, we have erasive anti-Semitism, which is simply not affording Jews the same level of dignity or respect that you would anyone else. And look, I have no problem if the athletic departments don't stand up for any cause. But when the only cause that they stand up for, you know, or that they don't stand up for, is anti-Semitism, that's a problem. You know, a lot of these schools have DEI training, and that's great. But if your notion of diversity, equity, and inclusion perpetuates the exclusion of Jews, as we've seen in many campuses, as we saw with those university presidents last month when they testified, that's a problem. So I think the only thing Jewish people want, parents of college students like myself and these others, all we want is equal treatment. That shouldn't be so hard in America.
Outside of colleges also.
No.
That's just what we want, period.
Yeah.